Concorso di eleganza Villa d'Este edizione 2014. In just a couple of minutes we're going to show you an amazing of automotive design, but we also look to the future. And you will have admired. Good afternoon, Martin, the head of the famous Victoria and Albert Museum in London. Patrick Goodfellow, thank you, Winston, he knows a bit about cars as well. And last but not least, Harm Lagai. Iniziando a sfilare, preceduta da un'anteprima, una novità assoluta. That's quite a selection of motorcycles. That, of course, is just a taste. Very good. Germany's answer to Peter Fonda. Easy right. Rolls-Royce, that venerable British marque, celebrates its 110th anniversary. And so we thought that for 2014, what could be more appropriate to start the parade than a class which celebrates that heritage? And the first car this afternoon is this magnificent 1908 Rolls-Royce Silver Ghost. Years ago, and look at it, still going strong. This particular car has been in the Ferranti family since 1965, I believe. And before that, Mr. Ferranti, you win the FIFA trophy for the preservation of your motor car. And I know that your family has, come. Hats off to you too. Thank you for bringing the car. Not bad for a 108-year-old, is it? And now we move forward a few years to something equally spectacular. Of Rolls-Royce that was designed by Sir Henry Royce himself, working at his villa in the south of France. The Continental. Now, if you were in the 1950s, hunting, shooting, fishing set, and you had the means to indulge your whims, there's a chance you may, which favoured leisure pursuits. And perhaps unsurprisingly, the build sheet of this car, and these sort of things still exist in the Rolls-Royce archives, specifies every... Grazie, Marcello. La Rolls-Royce giardinetta la possiamo chiamare, Carlo Otto? Come
sì,
lo definiresti?
Giardinetta, familiare.
Giardinetta, una dei quattro esemplari costruiti.
Bravi, bravissimi! Austria.
Good afternoon, Alexander Schaufler, dressing up for the occasion, and we especially appreciate you bringing these lovely ladies to us to be with us this afternoon. Alexander, thank you. Ladies, thank you. Do duck, otherwise you'll take the parasol with you, and you wouldn't want that. Always a crowd favorite. Originally, until Corrado went to see the people at the Polytechnic of Milan, who are renowned for remastering old films. Whose name was Joe Alphabet. What really Joe Alphabet? His name was so difficult to pronounce. The Americans resulted. Potevi scegliere, sì. And now, Italy's answer to the motor car that you've just seen. We have for the most sensitive restoration. Richard, I always knew you were a sensitive kind of guy. The Lancia Astura. Thank you, and congratulations. The most sensitive restoration for the Lancia Astura Pininfarina Bocca Cabriolet. You can imagine back in 1936 when you put your hood up electrically at the traffic lights, that gave you major bragging rights.
Yes, yes, for sure.
This one went to a night in France, the other one went to the Sultan of Morocco, no less. Now, I'll bet that you most certainly have not... Now, I'm going to ask in a minute Hideo Kodama to say a few words about this car, because I know that it's one that he was particularly fascinated by. But just to give you a brief introduction, this was not only in the 2-litre class, it even won outright the 1940 millimeter curved glass, which was extremely difficult to achieve in the 1930s, when glass was almost always still made flat. Great looking car, thank you for sharing it with us here today. Built, as Hideo said, very much with the high-speed autobahns that Germany pioneered in the 1930s, and streamlined coachwork to obtain the absolute maximum performance without... Bene.
Sì, Simon. Lancia aveva questa tradizione innovativa estrema, tant'è che alcune sue soluzioni non furono poi capite subito, ma solo in un secondo tempo.
Aveva anche brevettato il fondo piatto per una macchina, se ricordo bene.
E la scocca portante.
The first car of this class, then Heiko and Ilke Seekamp. Good afternoon, Heiko. Good afternoon, Ilke. Very nice to see you. Faithful supporters of the Concorso d'Elegance. And they've brought main points about this car. It was a touring patent called the Airlux. It's a plexiglass roof which you can open in the summer. And I'm guessing it's pretty warm in here right now. But air conditioning was not present in Italian cars. And now poised for takeoff, the Mercedes-Benz. Its contemporary rivals in the 2-seater sports car stakes of the 1950s, although this one was just a little bit more expensive. This was the BMW 507, one of the great lines of the BMW 507, and this particular car has actually just been restored in the workshops of BMW Classic in Munich. Ursula Andress had one, Elvis Presley had one. The only Jeff Lotman from the USA. And it's amazing how you pick up attractive passengers when you're driving a BMW. And now to show us all the way from Argentina. Good afternoon. Now Sergio is a great Cisitalia fancier, and he has owned this car for... California Spider was a little bit too racy for you back in the late 1950s and you wanted more in the way of creature comforts. This is the car that you will have bought. I'm not sure I'd quite call it a family Ferrari, although it clearly works for some. That's what this car cost when it was new, against 5.5 million of the California Spider. 200 of them were made. This particular car... That's a novel definition of a people carrier. He's come to say hello is of course the son of the great Carlo Felice Bianchi Anderloni, and he's given the bear as a symbol of good luck to the owners of this Hudson Italia. It seems somehow appropriate that the meeting that sparked the whole Hudson Italia story took place in Belgium. Look at the tail lights of the car, by the way, on the side. I'll tell you more about the Hispano Suiza tomorrow when it's called out. And now, the first of our... How are you getting on there, Steve? Thumbs up, looking good. That's perfect. Stop her just there if you would. That's all, I'll keep it brief. But this is just a recycled racing car, but that just a recycled racing car isn't any old racing car. So it's not as easy to drive as one might think. Batman and Robin would have loved it. Al Salone di Parigi del 1964, esattamente 50 anni fa, ma che non ebbe mai seguito.
No, una costruita, del resto il tetto a pagoda diventò veramente un'icona del design.
Very, very hot right now. That's it. Spectacular. Perfect. Shiro Kosaka all the way from Japan with the Abarth 2000 Scorpione. Good afternoon, Shiro. Welcome to Villa d'Este.
It brings design in a different stage because the body is not unique.
Fabbrica come facevano i commendatori, non avevano uffici, fabbriche avevano. And now all the way from Argentina, we have a good Argentine turnout this after these small displacement cars. It's a 2-litre engine, but the big feature of this car is the coachwork. Zagato, the coach builder from Milan, that name that many of you will recognize. Small detail, that car was owned in the 1970s by an American dealer whose name was Joe Alphabet. It wasn't really Joe Alphabet, but he came from Eastern Europe and his name was so difficult to vetture furono costruite, ma 7 oggi sopravvivono. Look to see if there was any way they could ban the car, because it didn't say anything about gull-wing doors being allowed. They couldn't. The car went on to race. It was very successful racing. It even won Le Mans. And Max Hoffman, the American importer, that's great. Thank you, Bernardo. Good afternoon. Max Hoffman, che premia Bernardo Hartogs per i più begli interni di una delle vetture di questo concorso di eleganza a Villa d'Este. Notice also the car. We don't want to decapitate anybody. Michael Kaufmann from Austria with the 1957 Aldo Lago America. Now, if you want to meet the motoring equivalent of the Duracell bunny that never stops going, here he is, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Norman Jewis. You'll notice from his tie, he's a great fan of Western movies and cowboy boots. Norman Jewis, ladies and gentlemen. They don't make them like they used to, do they? Yes. For the Ferrari 250 GTO. Now this, ladies and gentlemen, is probably the most iconic Ferrari in history. And that's quite a boast. Creton Lenduris with Alex Vazios, the Greek. Alex Vazios in the passenger seat, however, collects Abbas. È la cosa che non può mancare è Gigia, il cagnolino. Thank you, everybody. See you next year. See you tomorrow. Have a